Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the disability community.
Sure. My name is Casey Ruffin. I'm a speech language pathologist. Um, when I was younger and initially went to college, I thought I wanted to study physics and very quickly, realized that was not going to be for me. And so, in college, I was kind of having this crisis of what am I going to do? What am I going to study? And I was actually just looking in this large book that the college gave you with like all the majors and um, here's all your options here. And so I'm looking through that, and a friend was in the room and had mentioned this course that they took. It was like an introductory course to communication sciences and disorders. And I thought that sounded really interesting. And so I signed up for that class the next semester, and it just really connected with me. And so I kind of was on that path. And, they were teaching us about both speech pathology and audiology in that introductory course and in my undergraduate career. But I connected a lot more with speech language pathology and kind of just went with that. Um, and then, since going to grad school, my journey in speech language pathology has changed quite a lot. I thought I wanted to work with adults in the medical setting at first, and then found myself in pediatric clinics. And yeah, so it's kind of just been an ongoing journey. Um, in the past 5 years or so, with like social media becoming bigger and bigger, I've tried really hard to actually like enter disability community spaces and start really listening to the people in the communities that I serve. And so that's really informed me and how I'm involved and what I'm advocating for. Um, yeah, that's kind of just a little bit of background, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about your work as a speech language pathologist. What's your day-to-day like? Because like speech language pathology is really big, and
Yeah.
different people that I've talked to talk with different clients in different areas and different fields. So I'm wondering what your day-to-day like is in the SLP world.
Sure. Yeah, it is. It's a very vast scope of practice. Um, I've been working now for 10 years, and I currently have my own practice in San Francisco. I'm working by myself, and I specialize in AAC, or augmentative alternative communication. And I work primarily with children and young adults who have developmental disabilities, who, for whatever reason, really benefit from having augmentative communication systems, including speech generating devices. And I see all of my clients in their homes or out in the community, and just really working on how I can help improve their communication so that they can connect more with their families and the people around them.
Mm-hmm. So, like, what do you do to like make sure that a patient is independent and self-sufficient? Because you work with, children and young adults in AAC. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering, because like different, there's certain methods and certain ways to deal with people with children, for example, with autism or speech
Sure.
disorders. So I'm wondering what your sort of approach
Yeah.
is.
I take a very like relationship-based, strength-based approach. And so to do that, I'm really engaging with my clients in their interests, or in activities that are fun and meaningful to them. Um, so really making sure that the primary focus of our sessions is building that connection and having fun and being engaged. And then I also am really I'm not trying to, I embrace this, multimodal communication approach. So we're honoring all forms of communication, valuing all forms of communication, and I'm trying to also get the people around my clients to embrace that approach also. and then utilizing that client's modes of communication. So if my client is learning how to use an AAC device, I need to also be using that AAC device with them when I'm communicating with them, and encouraging their parents and their caregivers and any other team member to be using that mode of communication with them, um, so that it's not just one-sided, and so that they can see how it's being used and learn how it's being used.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then really taking advantage of, natural opportunities to, expand their communication or show them how they can communicate something in a more successful way. Our goal is not for me to come in and tell them what to say, or communicate what I think they should be saying or their parents think they should be saying, but really try to help them communicate what they want to be saying, in whatever way they want to say it.
Mhm. Because a lot of parents, they just don't know. They don't know, like, where to
Yeah.
turn to and how to, like, what strategies they can employ because, I have this connection too, where I have a cousin who has autism, and so
Hmm.
her parents are kinda, like, figuring out how to, like, get her to be more independent and kind
Sure.
of that kinda stuff, so I can relate to that.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of the modeling and offering choices, and um certainly when, I can honor all forms of communication, but there are going to be moments where my client is communicating and I don't understand what they're trying to say, or their parents not understanding what they're trying to say. So in those moments, we're trying to offer an interpretation and, give them, why do we think that? So, okay, I see you're smiling and you're pointing at the door. So, I that makes me think you want to go somewhere. And then offering some choices like, oh, maybe you want to go to the bathroom, or maybe you want to go to the park, or maybe you want to go here, but always leaving that door open for something else, something we're not getting. We're trying to give them as many choices as possible, but not making assumptions, um, and just going with those assumptions because those assumptions might be wrong.
Mhm. My next question is, tell me about the impact that speech language pathology has not only on yourself, but the greater disability community.
Sure. Um, there's obviously still a lot of ableism in speech language pathology, just like there is in the other rehab professions and society at large. Um, I hope what speech language pathology can do for the greater disability community is to provide supports and tools so that people with disabilities can feel empowered, and feel supported so that they can build and maintain connections with their families, with their, communities, with society at large, so that they can participate in their communities more fully, and just, have a greater quality of life through connection and through communication.
Mhm. My last question is, what can students studying
Mm.
SLP or new SLPs that are just new to the field take
Mhm.
away from this conversation? How can they sort of be, that in that person's success? What can they do to like, I guess, have the tools to like really provide what's best for each client because each client is different and each
Mhm.
client has different needs. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering what your take is on that.
Because the scope of speech language pathology is so big, I think it's really important to find an area of the field that you feel passionate about and that you can specialize in, and you can be really good at that part of the field. I think when you have that knowledge and specialty, you can better serve those clients in that area versus being a big generalist and not having, all of the knowledge in a very specific. So I would encourage a lot of incoming SLPs to find those areas of the field that they feel passionate about and kind of go with it so that they can be a better therapist in that area. And I also would really encourage all incoming SLPs, all SLPs at large, to go into those communities of the people they're serving, those specific disability communities. If you're working with autistic children, go and listen to autistic adults and listen to what they're saying they need from you and how you can be a better support for them, be a better advocate for them, so that you can really provide what they need and not just what graduate school teaches you or what other research might tell you to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Those are really important.
Mhm.